Hi all, hope all of you are doing great. And this is kind of a continuation video for the normalization exercises which we have seen in the last video. So we are going to see two more exercises for normalization. Okay, so in this video we are just going to take two exercises where you are actually given with a dream house, some unnormalized form of table in the form of client rental, and you need to normalize it into first normal form, second normal form, and third normal form. So that is what we are going to do. So in this exercise you are actually given with a client rental. So client rents a property only once, and there are certain business rules which are given over here, and a table is basically given. So there is only one table which is given. So you are given with client number and client name. Client name is John K, and he has got two different properties, PG4 and PG16. Say, just imagine that you have a building and you have two different flats in that building. So something like that. So the address is two different addresses, rent two different addresses. I mean, like two different dates for starting and ending, the monthly rent for two different. So like that, the details are actually given to you. So what's the first step? The first step is, once you're given with an unnormalized form, you need to identify the entity. So this is mainly about a client. So probably we should start by thinking about a client. Okay, and now what you have to do is that, so we are basically using the client. So here we are taking client, and so that is a entity that we have basically identified. And so client number could be the primary key for it. So we are using actually the primary key as the client number, and we have chosen all the attributes like C name, property number, P address, and everything. And in this, from property number, P address, rent start, finish, monthly rent, owner name, on everything is basically repeating. So we have identified the repeating ones. Okay, so all these things are basically repeating ones, which if you could see. So these are the repeating items. Now what we need to identify is that, say in 1NF, what we need to do is that we need to take those repeating items. We need to take those repeating items and put it as a separate entity. So we have taken all this and put it as a separate entity, and we need to find a possible primary key for this one. So the possible primary key for this one is property number, and we need to take the client as the FK here, that is foreign key, and we need to take this combination as our primary key. So this combination is basically the primary key. Okay, so it's the combination of both client number and the property number. So this combination is nothing but the primary key. So this is your composite entity basically. So this is the way which we actually solve the multi-valued attribute issue. So we have basically solved the multi-valued attribute issue here by for 1NF. Now moving over to the 2NF, we need to make sure that there is no PD, right? We need to identify the PD. PD is it's nothing but the partial dependency, right? We need to identify the PD. So this is what we need to know. So for that we need to identify all the non-key attributes. So the P address, rent start, rent finish, monthly rent, owner number, owner name, these are the non-key attributes. So in this non-key attributes, we need to make sure that which one all are partially dependent upon this combination of primary key. So when we look at P address, it is very clear, it is completely dependent upon property number. So there is a partial dependency, because for determining the P address, we don't require this combination. So P address is basically fully functionally dependent upon this property number. It doesn't require this client number, right? And when you think about this rent start and rent finish, it requires both the property number and the client number. Say in a building, if you have a particular flat for sale, okay, so you require both the information. So you require both the client number and the property number to determine this rent start and rent finish. But monthly rent is for a particular property, and owner is for a particular property. Owner name is that of a property. So when you look at this non-key attributes, P address, monthly rent, owner number, owner name, are all dependent only on property number or partially on this composite primary key property number and doesn't actually require this client number. So there is a partial dependency which exists in here, right? So now what we need to do, so we need to make sure that we are taking this property number, P address, and then monthly rent, owner number, owner name, everything as a different entity. So that is what we are doing. So what we basically do is that we make a new entity. Okay, so when we make a new entity, we will make this property number and property name, monthly rent, etc. as a new entity, and we will name it as name it as property. And then as we have taken this pk, we need to relate these two tables somehow. So in order to relate both the table, we need to make this property number here, and when we are making the property number here, it will be an fk, and as part of the composite entity rule, this has to be a primary key. So we have to put the star to make sure that it is a foreign key. So here we have star, this just shows that it is a foreign key. Okay, so now property, so this client property and property is basically related with the help of this foreign key property number, and it is a primary key as well according to the way which we have solved the solved in the 1NF for the multi-valued attribute issues, right? So this is how it is. So now we could say that we have eliminated the issue of partial dependency. So when you look at here, so P address is fully functionally dependent upon property number, monthly rent is fully functionally dependent, so owner number, owner name, everything is fully functionally dependent upon this. So this is what we could understand. And when you look at here, so this rent start and rent finish, both of them are fully functionally dependent on both the keys. So that's the beauty of it. So we require both the keys for identifying or determining this rent start and rent finish, and client name, and is fully functional dependent upon client number. So this is in 2NF. So there is no partial dependencies in any of the entities. Now in the third normal form, what we have to do is that we need to identify the non-key dependencies. Okay, so if we look at the table, the property table here, you have this P address, monthly rent, and then owner number, owner name. So you need to look at the non-key attributes, and if there is a dependency between the non-key attributes, then you need to remove it and make it into a different table, right? So when you look at this particular table here, you have this owner number, and you have this owner number and owner name, which has got a non-key dependency. So they have got a non-key dependency. That means that owner name is basically related to owner number. So there is a dependency which is here. So if you have a non-key dependency, what you need to do, you need to make it as a separate table. So when you're making it as a separate table, definitely this owner number has to be placed in this property table as a foreign key, right? So that is what we are basically doing here in the 3NF. So in the 3NF, we do have this client, all the other tables are intact. Okay, so only difference is that we need to make sure that we have this owner table now, and with the owner number and the owner name, and owner number kept as the primary key, and we need to have a relationship between this property table and owner table, and for that we will keep this this one as the FK. So when we are keeping this as the FK, you need to make sure that it is actually shown as the foreign key. So the star just shows that it's a foreign key reference which you have. So this is what you have to do. So once you look at the table now, so we have dealt with the multi-valued attribute issues, and in the 2NF we have dealt with the partial dependency issues, and in the third normal form we have basically dealt with the non-key dependency issues, right? So now this final table, if you look at it, this final table is basically in complete normalized form. Okay, so now finally when you look at the output, you have this client and you have this property and you have this client property which is basically acting as the which is acted as the this table is basically the composite entity table, and now you have this dependency where you have a normal FK dependency which you have here, right? So this is what it is for the first problem. Okay, now moving over to the second problem, if you could see, basically you have got, you are given with a table with the dentist and the patient appointment data, and the patient is actually given an appointment for a specific date and time, and the dentist is located at a particular surgery. On each day, the patient appointments of patient's appointments, the dentist is allocated to a specific surgery for that particular day. So there are different type of surgeries, and there is S15, S13. See if you could look at here, but they are basically on a particular day he will be assigned with only one type of surgery. Say keyhole, then he will be assigned with only keyhole, like that. So you're given with this particular data. So when you look at the data, you have the staff number and the dentist name, patient number, patient name, then time, a surgery number and surgery name, right? So when you look at this table, this is completely about the staff details. So we could keep the name of your table as staff, okay? So and you could keep this staff number as your primary key. So we are taking the staff number as the primary key. Now we need to identify all the attributes. So staff number, dentist name, patient number, patient name, appointment date, name, date, time, surgery number, surgery name. So everything is listed. The next step is identify the repeating items. Repeating items or the multi-valued attributes. So when you look at here, you have this is your staff ID S1011, right? And you have S1032. So these are the two different staff numbers which we have. So for one particular staff number, you have got two different patients, two different patient name, two different timings, even though the date is same, but the time is different. And you have, when you look at the surgery number, you have this S15 and S13. So definitely this is multi-valued attribute. And surgery name, if you could see, it's keyhole surgery and laser treatment. So you have multiple values which is possible here for any other patient, right? But here it is very clearly on the day of the patient appointments, dentist is allocated with a specific surgery for that day, but still it is done for two different patients, right? So these are all your multi-valued attributes. So you have basically written all this as your multi-valued attributes. Now what we have to do is that, so as we have identified the UNF, so we have identified the UNF with the entity name and followed by the attributes and the primary key and the repeating items. So now what we have to do is that, as we have identified the repeating items, we understood that there is a it is not in the 1NF. So what we need to do, we need to solve that. So what we have done is we have actually kept all those data in your in a separate table. So all this is basically kept as a separate data. And when you look at it, patient number is kept as your primary key for this table, right? And we need to take the staff number as the as the foreign key here, and we need to make sure that this is a compound key. So it's a composite key. So staff number and patient number has to be a part of your primary key. So this will become the PFK. So you have a star here, right? And you have the patient number, okay? So this is what it is. So you have this combination of staff number and patient number as your composite primary key, right? So this is how, this is a composite entity. So this is how you will solve the multi-valued attribute. So it's all the same for every cases. So now what we need to identify is that, we need to see, so in order to move on to the second normal form, we need to identify, is there any partial dependencies which are available. So how will you look over to the partial dependencies? Say you will consider all the non-key attributes. So the non-key attributes here is patient name, appointment date, time, surgery number, surgery name. So these are all your non-key attributes. So you need to identify patient name as fully functionally dependent upon patient number. Yes, so there is a partial dependency which is available here, okay? There is a partial dependency which is available here. And when you consider this appointment date, time and surgery number, surgery name, everything is related to both the staff and the patient. So this is why, you need to keep this in mind. So the surgery number, surgery name, your appointment, when the doctor has to when the patient has to take the appointment and for the doctor. So it is, both of them are related here in all these cases. But just this patient number and patient name is actually, this is the only partial dependency which you could identify here. So you have identified a partial dependency. So now you need to move on to the second normal form. So in the second normal form, you have to take these two as a separate entity. So these two alone as a separate entity, all right? So in the 2NF, what we have done is that we have kept the staff number and the staff name exactly as it is, and you have kept the other details also intact. We are not moving that. But apart from that, we are keeping this patient number and patient name separately as a different table, and we are just giving a name as patient for this particular table. And now what you have to do is that you are keeping this patient number as a PK. So as you have kept this as PK, now this will become the FK here, and as this is a composite entity, you need to make it as a PFK, and you are putting the star here. So now it is very clear for you like how we are actually doing it, because here it is PFK. So the initial step, the step just before it was just a PK. So now it has how it has become PFK. You should understand that. Okay. So in this particular stage, it was the primary key for this particular table, right, in the 1NF. But in the 2NF, as you are removing the partial dependencies, you are separating that into a different table, and now this PK will act as a foreign key to this particular table. So it will become FK, and as this is a composite primary key, you have to make it as a PFK. So you are putting the star here, right? So hope you understood how it has become in the 2NF, how it has become PFK, right? And now in the third normal form, what you have to do, so you are actually checking over to all the details, right? When you check over to all the details, you will understand that in the 2NF, when you look at here, right, you have the surgery number and surgery name, which could be the non-key attributes. So you're looking over to the non-key attributes. When you look at the dentist name, it is completely dependent upon the staff number, and when you look at this appointment date, it is related to both, and surgery number and surgery name are two non-key attributes which has got a relationship to each other, right? That is what we are trying to remove in the third normal form, right? So now what we have basically done is that we have actually taken as a separate entity. So now when you look at this, so you have actually taken the surgery number and surgery name as a separate entity, and you have made this entity name as surgery. Okay, now you have kept the surgery number as the PK. Now you need to relate these two, right? Relate this one and this staff patient table, this table and this table, right? These two you have to relate somehow. So how can you do that? You are actually making the surgery number as an FK here, right? So you are keeping this surgery number as an FK here, because whenever you understand conceptually, when you think about it, see, the surgery number has to be there for both the staff and the patient. Okay, staff is doing a surgery upon a patient, so both your staff and the patient is basically related to each other as well, right? So this is exactly the same thing which so when you think about it conceptually also, it will make sense for you. Okay, so you have the surgery number and surgery name. So now you are actually relating both with the help of an FK. So this will be a simple FK in this particular staff patient table, where you have this surgery number. Okay, and that's why you have actually kept a star here as well, and this is your combination of your primary keys as well, right? So this is nothing but this is how you will actually solve this issue, or if you are given with an unnormalized table. So when you look at here, you will have staff and the patient, you will have the staff patient. So this is nothing but your this is the main composite entity table which you have actually developed, and this is the surgery table with a simple surgery PK, and the surgery number is basically given over here as your FK, right? So this is exactly what you have as. So now you have actually given with the with a primary, with an unnormalized table. So when you're given with an unnormalized table, you will make it into the first normal form. You will identify all the repeating items in the unnormalized form, and once you have identified all the the repeating items, you need to remove it in the first normal form. Then you have to convert it into 2NF by removing all the partial dependencies with the composite key, and then you need to make it into third normal form by removing all the non-key dependencies. So these are certain examples which you could actually go through. You please pause this video and go through this by as you you take your time and go through it. Then only you'll be able to understand. And I will completely recommend you to pause the question and do it by yourself, and then come back and see this video for detailed understanding. So thank you so much. So hope this will be useful for you. Thank you so much for your this thing. If you have any issues or any doubts or anything like that, please get back to me. Thank you so much.